Well, it's another day over with, thankfully. So here's another edition of my blog, if any bugger watches it. It's cracking the flags today again. It's absolutely roasted. At 28, I think. That's my limit, that, 28, and I start melting. So I've just preconditioned the old i3. One of the beauties about having a high voltage vehicle, electric vehicle, what have you, is the fact that you can use the app, precondition it so it can be warm in winter, in this case very cold. Hopefully it worked. Probably it didn't work because BMW app doesn't really work as well. There's a few things it could be better at. Not bad. It's not so much the app, it's more I think the fact that it's on 4G and we've got a lot of signals around here interfering. You can hear it buzzing away there though, so that's a good sign. That's probably cooling the battery and hopefully the interior. So I've had a hell of a job today. I'll go into it in a minute. It involves why you should probably use an halogen bulb on everything now, even when you don't think there's going to be a voltage drop and you've got a lovely bright test lamp. In this case it wasn't enough, and it bit me in the arse a bit really. Not really misdiagnosed, but in a way I did misdiagnose it, and I don't mind admitting. Usually a lot lower than that. I'll get one day when it's just skimming rooftops. You can see Pilot drinking a cup of coffee. It's that long. Airport's literally just yonder, the runway. So yeah, this one skinned me alive a bit really, but I did find other faults that I didn't know previously, and then some where someone's been there before and not put some screws in and stuff. And it involves a junction box, it involves a radio, and it involves a central display as well. So there was three things that weren't playing. And if you follow along to this vlog, you'll see the reason why. And it's a cautionary tale. Just use halogen bulb check. When I did check it again after, the bright bulb started to dim, voltage drop, resistance, but in this case bad contact, which is almost the same as resistance. So let's get into what I was up to today, and hopefully we can all learn from it. I just want to show you a quick example of why the bloody hell you have to check everything what idiots do. Some idiot has stripped this. This is the junction box electronics, that's the junction box. And what they haven't done, they haven't put the screws in. Now, not a problem you would think, but when it's moving about, car come in last week, radio wasn't working. I checked the voltage, I had 12 volts at the ground, and I ordered a radio unit. Now, really, I should have realised an idiot's been working on it. There's no voltage at the fuse there at all. However, if I push this unit in, still no bloody voltage. There, look at the voltage drop on that. There. So when I measured 12 volts with the power probe, I wasn't really measuring 12 volts. I was measuring 12 volts but with no potential. So a good example why you shouldn't really need to, but because there's idiots around, if you've got 12 volts, make sure it's got potential. Put a halogen bulb on and test it. So I got to the bottom of it. Some complete, I should say the B word, but I'm not going to say it. Some idiots in the past has front probed it, and when they front probed it, they've spread the terminal, so it was a sporadic fault. So when I come to check it, I've no idea, like, oh yeah, everything's all right. Check that out. That's a tasty one, and that's the bad one. Bloody, I can't zoom in there, hang on. So that's what's wrong with it. So when I checked it, it had 12 volts, but there were no potential on it because there wasn't enough current being carried through it. If I'd have halogen tested it, it wouldn't have lit an halogen bulb up for sure. It's that one though, it's pretty hard to see. That's a good one. That's a good one. Good, good, bad. Look how wide it is. It's completely... Someone's just obviously had a screwdriver in there at some point, some idiot. So I'm going to just swap it with a neighbouring receptacle. This one, and it should work. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Like what people do and cause you no end of bloody problems. And the other thing is the new radio, the used radio I'm fitting. This is the old one. The lighting circuit 58G doesn't work, so the new radio we have to send back anyway. So it's just unbelievable. You couldn't make it up. The new radio also didn't have any on the back where the blue sockets go for the coax. It didn't even. You can see it there. Look. Doesn't even have the plastics on it. This is the old one. I had to swap them over off the old one. So like the whole chain of everything's messed up. Now you wouldn't normally halogen bulb test that. You would go to that green and red wire and you would have voltage, and that's enough usually. Well, in this case, it's obviously had the big red cable at the back there. It's had the recut, because on these, they set on fire. So they've got this system now at the back where it's bolted in place. So to give you another idea, it's obviously an internal fault in the fuse box, but it was sporadic. So it's been spread, as I've shown you in the previous frame. It's completely spread, you can see it there, but there's no voltage anyway. I just tried this track here, but there's no voltage there. So what I'm going to have to do, I have to just use this spare receptacle and just change it over in the plug, and then we'll use this one, and we'll just have to report that it's faulty. So obviously this here, although it looks like it's on the same bus bar, it's on two separate bus bars. This circuit here, that's not even, that must be terminal. A switch, that was a switch live, so that's not permanent, but this is permanent. We'll just have to check it's permanent live anyway. So turn the ignition off completely. Hopefully it needs to be a terminal 30, of course. Yeah, it is, so it's a terminal 30. So if we use this one, we can still use the energy management of the car to switch it off. So it'll switch it off as a load consumer anyway, so we'll do that. So this is the old unit. Obviously you can see the lighting's working, on, off, on, off. But what's annoying about this, this is a real mess, this job. So basically these units are 450 quid used. I think new they're about 1,000. I mean, really, you could get an Alpine for that, couldn't you? Some fancy system. So there's the old one with a lighting circuit. So I've got a new radio, what might work, but the lighting circuit don't work on it. Very interesting. So this job gets stranger and stranger now. So I've got sound on both radios, so basically there was nothing wrong with the old one. Probably kind of my fault, but in that sense, I don't know if it was, because I did check the voltage and the ground and there was no sound coming out the radio. Now, as I shown in the original couple of clips, obviously there was some massive voltage drop, and although the test lamp was bright, it's not enough current draw on a little tiny 7-watt bulb. So although there were 12 volt, in reality, if you loaded it, probably it was 1 volt or 2 volts. But the problem I've got now is I've got no comms with the CID. Look, and there's voltage at the fuse, but there's no voltage on the wire. I'm starting to think I've got a serious problem with the with this junction box, which has been replaced at some. It wouldn't be the first time. I've had a lot of them in the past. So that's a bit depressing, is that? Obviously you've got K-can there, high and low, and you've got a ground. You could check the ground. That would usually light up if there was no ground, because obviously it's just the 12 volts can't drop over the consumer. But we can check that like another way with continuity to ground, but really, usually it would light up if there was no ground. But yeah, I've no voltage there. That's stressing me out, that. So I'm going to get the power probe on that and power it up. And then I'm going to have to work out what the hell is going on. I just can't believe this. This is just absolutely unbelievable. The new unit's faulty. The old unit is not wrong with it. And now I've got a CID fault. Fixed a problem in the junction box. So it's not good, is it? So I'm going to power this up with power probe now. See if it works. Oh, there's 12 volts on it. So, let's see. Mute it, because I can't stand this noise. Power it up and see if it works. There's something wrong with it. There we are. It's working. So there's a problem with the old with the voltage supply to it. Jesus Christ. Well, this is extremely unorthodox, but what I'm going to do is, I've got the same thickness wire, it's even the same colour, from an unused receptacle, which is for an option on the glove box it doesn't have. It's fused, and you have to be careful. If I'm going to use this to power this instead of the junction box powering it, will it switch off when the car's, will it go to sleep, you know, will it drain the battery? Well, we'll have to find out. But basically, if I join that to that voltage now, we've got 12 permanent live 12 volts on this wire. So that could be a solution for now anyway. Well, it's working now in that sense. And what I've done, I've just took, obviously, from that switch there, and I've just joined the pins literally with tape for now. And it does go off, but will it drain the battery? That's the next issue. But it's working. So that's a good way of thinking outside the box. So I've wired it up to the glove box light, and it's this fuse here, or it should be, this 10 amp one at the back. What we'll do, we'll just double check now, because if anything goes wrong, I want it to blow the fuse, obviously. Yeah, so it doesn't work, that's great. And this actual fuse is on terminal 30G, and what that actually means is, terminal 30G, it's energy diagnosis side of it. So if there's a problem on the car, it'll be switched off. Terminal FG on BMW can be switched off if they start to drain the battery. So let's try that again. There we are, so it's working. So I know it's fused, and I know that it's going to probably blow if anything goes wrong, but I also critically know that it'll turn off with energy diagnosis, which shouldn't drain the battery. In theory, you could leave it like that and not replace the fuse box. Anyway, it's all working now, so there you are. What a nightmare, and then a good recovery in the end. Well, it's working, thank God. It's a lovely day out, it's about 28 degrees. So I can't play the sound because obviously it's copyright. It's pathetic, isn't it? But that's how it is. So I'm just on the car park now, and I'm just going to park this up because I'm absolutely fed up with it now completely. And now I'm at home. I can now relax after an hard day, and I hope you all enjoyed that blog. I've got a lot more coming, believe me, because we're so busy at the moment. That's where I go and take a boat. I've got a boat, and I take it up down the lake down there. Not my boat, it's just my friend's boat, but probably one day we'll buy one. So yeah, we can go 30 kilometres long, that lake. You can go to the next town. So after a hard day, this is where I come to relax. I prefer living in countryside. I'm not far from Helsinki city centre, which is good, but I like being kind of, you know, this is the environment I like. I'm not a city person. I like the city, don't get me wrong. I grew up in Manchester, but yeah, this is my kind of life. So until next time, keep watching and subscribe, and if you can, bring my YouTube channel up, because I really want to make a big thing out of that, and hopefully reach a lot of people and help this new generation of people and show them how to fault find. All right, see you next time.